Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly report for December 14th. I'm going to start off by congratulating Alan Fong from Fisherman's Warehouse, or some of you may know Alan Fong from Alan Fong Outdoors. Alan is retiring from Fisherman's Warehouse after 28 years. And boy, I'll tell you, they're going to miss him out there. Nobody knows the Delta like Alan. I'm sure he has helped tens of thousands of people buying the right gear, putting them on to fish and catching fish. So you're going to be missed, Alan, at Fisherman's Warehouse. But on an up note, Alan's not retiring. He's semi-retired. He's going to start his own little electronics consulting business. So you guys that are maybe electronics challenged, Alan's going to be there to help you. I'm going to get Alan on hopefully in the next couple weeks, and we can talk about what he has to offer for you. And I might be calling Alan because I am one of those guys that's electronically challenged. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Alan has to offer in that regard. So congratulations, Alan, and enjoy your semi-retirement. Next up is HBXL Outdoors new kayak, a new Delta kayak tournament series coming up. Chris Starkey is going to be running that thing. Chris is a friend of mine, and what Chris is going to be doing starting this Saturday, December 16th, out at Tracy Oasis, and I believe Tracy Oasis is going to be his starting point for the tournaments when they start coming down the line. What Chris is going to be doing, he's going to be out at Tracy Oasis every Saturday until further notice, and he's going to be out there to talk to new kayak anglers, young anglers, people just getting involved in kayak fishing. Every Saturday he's going to have a small free kayak tournament. There's not going to be any prizes, but what Chris wants to do is be able to talk to these anglers that maybe are thinking about getting into kayak tournament fishing. He'll tell you how, all the ins and outs, what you need to do, what you need to have, how you weigh your fish, how you measure them, what you could expect through a day of fishing. So bring your kayak out there, talk to Chris. You guys can throw in 4, 5, 6, 10 boats, whatever it is. You'll have a little tournament, no prizes, just bragging rights to see how it goes and get ready to get into this new HBXL Outdoors Delta Kayak Series bass tournaments. I will have Chris on in the next week or so, and we'll talk about all the ins and outs of what's going on there. So kayak anglers, stay tuned. There's going to be a new fun, and it's going to be a competitive but non-professional style tournament setting. Hey, and if you want to call Chris, give him a call at 209-430-6593. Looks like December 16th is going to be a busy day. Don't forget the San Joaquin Bassmasters Spaghetti fundraising dinner. If you have any questions on that, call Cameron Cardoza at 209-502-0258. And that is the San Joaquin Bassmasters, the young anglers group, high school, mostly high school kids out there. They're going to have a spaghetti dinner to raise a little fun. So give Cam a call if you have any questions on that. Up next, I've got a new tournament series coming on, Delta Series, and this is going to be the Crappie Closet Delta Shootout coming up on the 16th. And guess what? I've got Marlon Carpenter with me today. Did a little video with Marlon. Let's check that out. Marlon will give you all the details of what's coming up this weekend, and we're going to have Marlon on again, and we're going to talk about crappie fishing a whole lot more coming up in the next coming up this winter. So let's check out Marlon, see what he has to say about this weekend's first ever crappie fishing tournament on the Delta. Marlon? All right, my special guest today is Marlon Carpenter. Marlon, you are the tournament director for the first ever crappie tournament coming out here to the Delta. Why don't you tell us about that? We need to know where you're starting at, where you're finishing at, dates, times, everything. What do you got going?
Okay, the tournament's called the Crappie Closet Lures Christmas Shootout. December 16th out at Holland Riverside Marina, better known as Holland Track. Start time, launch time is 7 a.m. Back at launch to start weigh-ins at 3 p.m. And shortly after that, we're going to do the ceremonies and raffles. Each participant will get a raffle ticket. We're not doing any extra raffles or whatever, but each participant is going to get a raffle ticket. We got rods, baits, gift cards. It's going to be a great thing.
Okay, and you're suspecting that about 20 boats have kind of committed. What's the payout? Is it you guys going to have cash prizes? I know it's going to be a bass style tournament, and from what we've talked about previously, 10 fish. You weigh in 10 fish,
yes.
and it's heaviest 10 fish. No big fish prizes. It's just the heaviest 10 fish.
Yes.
Tell us about the payouts and no live bait. Correct? It's all
yes.
all
artificials.
Okay.
Based on 20 participants, we're going to try to do 3 places. Just a standard thing, 50, 30, 20. Mm-hmm. We're going to do that. The more we get, the more places we're going to have.
And it's, you mentioned 90% payout.
Yes.
Approximately.
Yes, exactly. And it's just going to be a great time. You know, there's a lot of excitement, and we just wanted to do something that crappie. You know, crappie's a big deal in California that's bubbling right now.
And you know, crappie fishing is fun. We're out here today fishing crappie, and we're going to get into some fish, I'm sure. Crappie fishing is fun. Crappie tournament should be a great time. I'm planning on being out there, and so hopefully if you guys are coming out around 3 or so around weigh-in, I'd like to see you out there and we can talk a little bit of crappie fishing. So Marlene, good luck on this.
Yes.
I know you're planning after this tournament, you're going to plan some other tournaments, so you might have a little crappie tournament schedule.
Yes, we're going to develop a crappie sturgeon tournament schedule in the coming months.
All right.
We're going to base it around, you know, all the bass tournaments and everything, so we can try to have the least amount of traffic on the Delta and maximum participation.
Okay, can't wait for this Saturday to see what happens,
yes.
and we'll go from there. So why don't you and I get out here and we'll see if we can't catch you.
We got to get some slabs, Steve. Let's get some slabs.
I'm for that.
All right.
All right, let's get back to the regular scheduled programming. Okay, thanks, Marlon. Looking forward to seeing how that goes out there this weekend, and we'll keep you guys updated on what's going on with the crappie fishing situation out here. Okay, let's start off with the report, and we'll talk about some general river conditions. Water temperatures out here in the mid-delta have been mid to low 50s, starts off in the morning about 51, warms up to about 55. Clarity in the central delta has been 5 to 8 feet. I'm still getting reports from down south. It's still clouded up there, but you know, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to stay probably through the winter. Hyacinth is breaking up, and think about this. We had a couple, 3 weeks ago, we had a lot of hyacinth coming down the river. That kind of cleared up. We're getting a lot more hyacinth, at least here around Paradise Point and the central delta. And I think that's partially because of natural die-off. And remember, Fish and Game or Fish and Boating, they had a long spray season. I think their spray season ended the end of November. So what we're seeing now possibly is a lot of that 6 to 8 week cycle where they last sprayed, and that stuff is dying off, so we're getting a little more vegetation come through there. Hasn't been bad, but you have to watch it every now and then depending on the tide. I did talk to Jeff Suhu. He said out west they're not seeing that. Hopefully you're not going to get that, what we've been seeing here, coming down there in the next few days. But anyhow, very light pressure out here. By and large, light angling pressure. I haven't seen a lot of people out here. I know the reports have getting slimmer and slimmer, so if you guys do go out striper, crappie, bass, send me a report at scooper9561032@gmail.com. Make sure you send a report no matter how you do. And I want to thank the guys that have been sending in reports. That some of you have been doing really well. I know it's hard to send those reports in, but especially to you guys, thank you for taking the time to send in those reports. I know when you're not feeling so great about your fishing trip, it's hard to send in a report. So those are the river conditions. Stripers, in the central delta, they've been a little bit on hiatus the last week or two. I talked to Jeff Suhu. Jeff also confirmed that what he's seeing out in the West Delta, the big schools that were in a couple weeks ago are kind of dissipating, and they're not in the big schools schooled up like they were a couple weeks ago. Jeff is still catching fish, but he's back to heading out to Honker and Sassoon Bay. For some reason, those fish are just holding in there longer than they usually do. I asked Jeff if he thinks these big schools that are still out closer to the bay, if they're going to move in. He seems to think as the water temperature cools off that those fish will move into the delta. It's all going to be dependent, or a lot of it's going to be dependent on what these storms, I think they're coming in Sunday. They're going to drop a lot of rain supposedly. It's going to be depending on what they do to see what actually flushes back into the central delta. There are people catching fish, but it's not, you know, right and left. The fish are here, they're spread out. I'm getting fish one or two every other trip when I'm fishing for largemouth bass. I know the guys that are going out of Paradise Point that are bait fishing, the Blue Gill are on a really good bite, and I actually caught a couple of golden shiners that would have been just absolutely perfect bait last week, but should have threw them in the live one, went out striper fishing, but I didn't. But you can come out and catch bait. Fishing live bait, you're always going to get a couple of fish. Most of these fish are going to be keeper size to 24 inches. Haven't heard any of the big, you know, teener fish coming in this week, but there's always, it's kind of like bass fishing. There's always going to be guys out there catching fish. There's always going to be guys out there getting skunked, but the general population of bass fishermen, somewhere in the middle, it's not on fire. They're catching a couple fish to take home for tacos, and you know, if you're looking for a sport fishing day where you're just going to come out and throw paddle tail swim baits or topwaters and catch them all day long, I think that kind of right now is on the back burner. Largemouth bass, well, it's pretty much all over the board. I talked to Rob Cloutier. Rob's been having some tough fishing the last couple. Punching, he's catching fish, but he's not catching the size of fish that he wants. He's not catching the numbers of fish that he wants. I've been out quite a bit, and I have to say that I'm doing really well. I'm not punching, I'm throwing jerk baits, and the fish are on a daily bite, but there are definitely days where the bigger fish come out, and you just get, you know, those you know, it's easy to pull 10 pounds out of the delta right now if you just stay with jerk baits all day long. You're going to get those, you know, 1.5 to 2.25 pound fish. You'll get a 10-pound limit. You'll probably catch 15, 20, 25 fish. It's hard to get anything over about 2.25 pounds, but on certain days, those fish just come out. Now, I got a report for, I believe, what might be the last hook, line, and sinker tournament. That was on Saturday, and I didn't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure Rob said there was a 20-pound bag that came in and several 15, 16-pound bags. That was on Saturday. And what I wanted to get at is I have seen, you know, there's ebbs and flows in the fishing, but man, there are days where you still come out here and you can, you know, just as easily put in 15, 16 pounds as you put in 10 pounds. And for mid-December, that's a pretty good bag. Let me talk about last Friday. I was out here, and that's the day we had a little storm front move in. It rained just maybe 1/10 of an inch. Wind came up from nothing to maybe 7 or 8 miles an hour. I was out in the morning doing what I normally do, catching you know, lots of 10 and 12-inch fish. I had maybe one fish that was a 1.5 pound keeper or something. Thinking about heading in, started heading in, wanted to fish a couple spots on the way home. Cloud cover started coming in, temperature dropped a few degrees, wind picked up a little bit, the fish turned on, and it was a wide open bite for about 2 hours. Went home that day, maybe that day, the next day, started looking at reports, and people started sending reports. Man, we had a great day, we had a great day. When were you out? Everybody was out Friday. If you were out Friday afternoon in that hour and a half time period when that hit that storm front moving in, the fish were on. I ended up picking up 8 keepers, had about 15 pounds in my boat, dropped a couple of keepers that I didn't get to the boat, and I caught a nice striper. So one of the things that I'll talk about, or that I want you guys to pay attention to if you're coming out, look for these small fronts that come in. If the weatherman says, hey, you know, we got something, it's going to get cloudy tomorrow, you know, we've had these, you can see the sun's coming up now, we're going to have a beautiful day today. If it stays like this and we have these flat, calm river conditions, the fishing is just okay. You've got to work your tides, and you just have to work for every fish. But the days that the weatherman may be saying, hey, it's going to cloud up, we may get a slight breeze, man, you want to be out here fishing those days. And we have a weather front coming in next Sunday that I mentioned. It's going to be fairly severe from what I hear, or it's going to dump a lot of rain, so it's going to change everything out here. If you're coming out between now and Sunday, I can tell you the tide to fish is the low outgoing tide. The bite window it's been nice from about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's not a short bite window, and you're going to really be able to tell when that bite window picks up. It'll be low tide, maybe you're picking up a fish here and there, like I said, and it may be, if you're throwing jerk baits like I am, you're getting those fish on the pause, and it's kind of like you never feel them bite, they're just there, and then all of a sudden you'll get a fish that tick, 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 and you'll feel them really grab that thing, you'll catch it. It's almost instant where that bite window happens. You'll see the fish being not so aggressive when it comes up and biting the baits to being very aggressive, and you're feeling a real good, pop when you're jerking that bait. What's separating the guys winning tournaments to the guys that are right in the middle in that 10-pound class is just getting a kicker fish, maybe getting 1 or 2 kicker fish that push you up to that 15, 16, 18-pound class depending on the size. The big fish are not coming very often. I was able to pick up one fish that I didn't weigh it, but it was right there at 5 pounds. That one took a jerk bait. And the big fish do come out, but they don't seem to come out every day. One thing I will be, or one thing that I'd like to leave you with is if you have forward-facing sonar and you're not using it on the Delta, this is the time I think you can really dial in on that. And what I am seeing almost on a daily basis, even when I'm not catching them, as I'm throwing jerk baits, I'm seeing fish follow those baits, and a lot of times they're nice fish, 3-4 pound fish. They'll follow them, but they won't take them. And I'm going old school. As soon as I see the bait, I start watching it. I watch 3 feet behind it. I see if there's anything following it. I watch for anything coming up from the bottom. And I think I'd really like to have forward-facing sonar, because if you can get on the edges of the weed beds, which I'm fishing in the outside edges in about 8 feet of water, you have open water, so that forward-facing sonar, you can see your bait, and I think you will be surprised at how many fish follow those baits and don't hit them. So if you have that and you're able to see it, or visually, if you're doing old school like I am, you're seeing that bait come up and fish aren't taking it, or maybe they're just touching it with their nose, it's a good time to start really trying to dial in on size, color, speed, the cadence that you're working. Maybe it's just a matter of changing up a little bit to get those fish to bite. But anyhow, get out there, throw a jerk bait, paddle tail swim bait if you're going to fish stripers. If you want to slow down and fish, more fish are coming on worms, especially drop shot. Margarita mutilator has been the color. It's the people's color. That's out there all the time. Punch bite is so-so. Had a friend that was out fishing topwater with me, and not much of a topwater bite going on for bass, but get out there, have some fun. I know it's the holidays. Enjoy your families, and if you get out, make sure you send me a report. Until next week, good luck, and we'll see you guys on the water.